So Castle Rock, right around the corner, made its debut here at Comic-Con. Reviews are starting to come out.
Yeah, man.
What's the reaction been like for you so far?
The reaction's been amazing. You know, most of the reviews are really strong, and they get what we were going for with the show. They understand that it's not quite the King that they're familiar with, because we were never trying to adapt a specific King book. It was always, we got the rights to a handful of them, but let's pull and choose the elements that we like, but make an original story in a thing that feels like a Stephen King, but isn't quite really. And it's so surreal to be here, man. This is my 18th convention in San Diego. And I've been as a journalist, I've been as a comic book creator. I've never before been as a TV writer. And for a show like this, where there's like activations, and there's cars, and there's giant panels, it is the most surreal thing in the world.
What was it like, I guess, trying to strike the balance between stuff that's going to appeal to your hardcore Stephen King fans who know the entire mythos and a wider audience? How much did you guys lean into the canon versus kind of just trying to create a bigger picture that anybody could jump into?
I mean, I think that above all else, it was, let's make sure that everybody can watch this show, you know, but still being mindful of the fact that Stephen King is maybe the most popular American writer, and remembering what makes Stephen King tick. We spent a lot of time in the room just breaking apart stories and seeing why they work as well as they do. And the thing we came to at the end was, he's a character writer. The reason we love Stephen King is because he writes these amazing characters and then puts some awful supernatural / evil thing in their way, and what happens to their lives. And so his stories don't work unless you realize that this is about a teenage girl whose body is changing and she doesn't quite understand it, and her mother is super oppressive. She's also a telekinetic. You know, it's about a family falling apart and a husband who cheated on his wife and his job is going horrible, but the family dog suddenly turns into a raving maniac. You know, it's the, let me build you the story of these people and then crash into it with something awful. And remembering that and being sort of mindful of that was super helpful, you know, helping us chart a path of what's the world, who are the characters, and what's the awful thing that is going to crash into them and make their lives miserable.
Will we see an extra-dimensional turtle?
God, I hope so. I mean, we didn't.
I was really sad that was missing from it. I was like, where's the turtle?
We did not write one, as far as I remember, but anything can happen in post.
How deep is the horror going in this show? Is it scary first?
The vibe I think that I would use to conjure it more is it's eerie. You know, like a lot of it is about mood, a lot of it is about place, a lot of it is about creating an unsettling feeling that's always permeating, that's always, you know, the texture of that level of being unsettled is kind of what it's about. Not that there aren't a couple of great scares, but it was never quite about that. It was always about, like, let's make everything feel like 2 degrees shy of right, and then figure out ways to keep, like, just twisting that knife so that by the time you get to episode 10, you just feel fundamentally distressed.
That's great. That's a great thing to evoke. Of the books, I guess, that you did have the rights to, was there one in particular that you were really excited to get your hands into those characters or to that mythology?
I mean, it's funny. The one that probably tacks most directly in is Needful Things, because it's A, set in Castle Rock, and, you know, B, it's stranger comes to town and awful things happen in his wake, and using a little bit of structure of that, of here's this town that had been the victim of a character like Leland Gaunt, because again, this is still canon. So he had come to Castle Rock and he had wreaked havoc on Castle Rock, and then what happens after that kind of havoc? What happens in the fallout of a town that seems cursed by time, and who still stays? You know, who decides that Castle Rock should be a wonderful place to raise children? You know, nobody, unless you're also kind of broken.
Right. So you mentioned all this stuff about character, and the character really drives it. What, to your mind, makes Andre Holland a good person to embody a Stephen King protagonist?
I mean, A, he's brilliant. You know, I mean, if you've ever seen him in anything, he's almost always the best thing in it. He's got this capacity, and it's a rare thing for an actor, because so much of the show is dealing with identity and memory and place and feeling out of place. He's got to dramatize the feeling of, I feel like something's wrong, but I don't know what it is. You know, like I don't have access to the totality of this experience, and there's this haunted kind of sadness to his eyes where you're beginning to realize what it must feel like to understand that your life is not what you always thought it was. And he can do that. He can deliver that. Like, he shows up on screen and you want to understand. You want to make him feel better. You know, it's like, oh, come here, Andre, come on, it'll be okay. I swear, it'll all make sense. Just give it time, give it time. Maybe everybody's going to die, maybe not, but it'll be okay for you. Probably not.
And then you write all these horrible scenarios.
Yes. Yeah, you put them through the ringer. Like fall in love with a guy and then torture that person